Hello everyone and welcome to our study of Romeo and Juliet. In this scene, we see Benvolio and Mercutio out and about on the street. This is scene 4 in Act 2. Let's listen in.
Scene 4. A street. Enter Benvolio and Mercutio.
Where the devil should this Romeo be? Came he not home tonight?
Not to his father's. I spoke with his man.
Ah, that same pale, hard-hearted wench, that Rosaline, torments him so that he will sure run mad.
Tybalt, the kinsman of old Capulet, hath sent a letter to his father's house.
A challenge, on my life.
Romeo will answer it.
Any man that can write may answer a letter.
Nay, he will answer the letter's master how he dares, being dared.
Alas, poor Romeo, he is already dead, stabbed with a white wench's black eye, shot through the ear with a love song, the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow-boy's butt shaft. And is he a man to encounter Tybalt?
Why, what is Tybalt?
More than a prince of cats, I can tell you. Oh, he's the courageous captain of compliments. He fights as you sing prick song, keeps time, distance, and proportion. Rests me his minim rest, 1, 2, and the third in your bosom. The very butcher of a silk button, a duellist, a gentleman of the very first house, of the first and second cause. Ah, the immortal passado, the punto reverso, the hay.
The what?
The pox of such antic, lisping, affected fantasticos. These new tuners of accents. By Jesu, a very good blade, a very tall man, a very good whore. Why, is not this a lamentable thing, grandsire, that we should be thus afflicted with these strange flies, these fashion-mongers, these pardonnez-mois, who stand so much on the new form that they cannot sit at ease on the old bench? Oh, their bonds, their bonds!
Here comes Romeo! Here comes Romeo!
Without his roe, like a dried herring. O flesh, flesh, how art thou fishified! Now is he for the numbers that Petrarch flowed in. Laura to his lady was but a kitchen wench. Marry, she had a better love to berhyme her. Dido a dowdy, Cleopatra a gypsy, Helen and Hero Hildings and harlots, Thisbe a grey eye or so, but not to the purpose.
Enter Romeo.
Signor.
Let's pause right quick. Alright, so here we have Benvolio and Mercutio talking to one another, and they're saying, hey, where is our friend Romeo? We still haven't seen him from last night. If you recall, in the last scene they were together, they were saying, Romeo, come out, Romeo, and Romeo was hiding behind the bushes. Kind of a weird thing to do to your friends, but Romeo is not your average guy. Now, if we look here, we see that Tybalt has sent a letter to Romeo. What can we infer this letter says? You got it. It probably says something like, Dear Romeo, you suck. I am going to kill you. Let's fight. Tell me when and where. Something like that. And Benvolio saying, hey, Romeo will answer this letter. And Mercutio saying, listen up. Tybalt is a prince of cats. He is a duelist of the very first house, meaning that he can fight really good. He is a good fencer, and he gives all these fencing terms like immortal passado, the punto reverso, the high. This means that he is a really good sword fighter, and so this can be a problem for Romeo because Romeo has to, contend with this potential threat. Here comes Romeo. He enters, and now we hear that Mercutio is going to give him a lot of grief. Let's listen in.
Romeo, bonjour. There is a French salutation to your French slop. You gave us the counterfeit fairly last night.
Good morrow to you both.
What counterfeit did I give you?
The slip, sir, the slip. Can you not conceive?
Pardon, good Mercutio, my business was great, and in such a case as mine a man may strain courtesy.
That's as much to say, such a case as yours constrains a man to bow in the hands.
Meaning to courtesy.
Thou hast most kindly hit it.
A most courteous exposition.
Nay, I am the very pink of courtesy.
Pink for flower.
Right.
Why then is my pump well flowered?
Well said. Follow me this jest now, till thou hast worn out thy pump, that when the single soul of it is worn, the jest may remain, after the wearing, soul singular.
Oh, single-souled jest, solely singular for the singleness.
Come between us, good Benvolio, my wits faint.
Swits and spurs, or I'll cry a match.
Nay, if thy wits run the wild goose chase, I have done. For thou hast more of the wild goose in one of thy wits than I am sure I have in my whole 5. Was I with you there for the goose?
Thou wast never with me for anything, when thou wast not there for the goose.
I will bite thee by the ear for that jest.
A good goose, bite not.
Thy wit is a very bitter sweeting. It is a most sharp sauce.
And is it not, then, well served into a sweet goose?
Oh, here's a wit of Cheveril that stretches from an inch narrow to an ell broad.
I will stretch it out for that word broad, which added to the goose proves thee far and wide a broad goose.
Why, is this not better now than groaning for love? Now art thou sociable, now art thou Romeo, now art thou what thou art, by art as well as by nature. For this drivelling love is like a great natural that runs lolling up and down to hide his bubble in a hole.
Stop there, stop there.
Thou desirest me to stop in my tail against the hair.
Thou wouldst else have made thy tail large.
Oh, thou art deceived. I would have made it short, for I was come to the whole depth of my tail, and meant indeed to occupy the argument no longer.
Here's goodly gear.
Enter nurse and Peter.
A sail, a sail, a sail!
Two, a shirt and a smock.
Peter,
Anon.
Let's pause right quick. Okay, so we have Romeo and Mercutio going back and forth, and Mercutio is saying, hey, you gave us a slip last night, basically meaning, hey, you ditched us, what's going on? And Romeo says, good pardon, I had good reason to go, and then you see this back and forth. I'm not going to tell you everything that's being said here, but just know that they're being real kind of cheeky and saucy and giving each other a hard time, as oftentimes young men do when they're out and about. Now we have Nurse enter the scene with her servant, Peter. And Romeo says, a sail, two, a shirt and a smock. Basically, he sees Nurse, and Nurse has like this big kind of dress that's like blown up in the wind. And he's saying, oh my gosh, a sail. This is not something nice to say because he's comparing her to the size of a ship, i.e. calling her fat. And so here Nurse says, Nurse is about to say, my fan, Peter. Let's hear what Mercutio has to say in response.
a fan, Peter.
Good, Peter, to hide her face, for her fan's the fairer face.
God ye good morrow, gentlemen.
God ye good den, fair gentlewoman.
Is it good den?
'Tis no less, I tell ye, for the body hand of the dial is now upon the prick of noon.
Out upon you! What a man are you!
One gentlewoman that God hath made for himself to mar.
By my troth, it is well said. For himself to mar, quoth he. Gentlemen, can any of you tell me where I may find the young Romeo?
I can tell you, but young Romeo will be older when you have found him than he was when you sought him. I am the youngest of that name, for fault of a worse.
You say well.
Yea, is the worst well? Very well took, i' faith. Wisely.
If you be he, sir, I desire some confidence with you.
She will indict him to some supper.
What hast thou found?
No hare, sir. Unless a hare, sir, in a Lenten pie. That is something stale and hoar, ere it be spent.
Sings.
An old hare whore and an old hare whore is very good meat in Lent. But a hare that is whore is too much for a score when it whores ere it be spent. Romeo, will you come to your father's? We'll to dinner thither.
I will follow you.
Farewell, ancient lady, farewell.
Singing.
Lady, lady, lady.
Excellent.
Let's pause right quick. Okay, so Nurse arrives on the scene, and she says, "My fan, Peter," and Mercutio says, "Good, Peter," to hide her face, for the fan's the fairer face. Again, they're being kind of nasty to Nurse here, saying, yeah, cover her face with a fan. It's better looking than her actual face. And Nurse says, "Oh, hello, good day, gentlemen." And if you notice later, Mercutio says, "Oh, lady, lady, lady." He's making fun of her. Kind of like when somebody is making fun of somebody who's high maintenance, they might say, "Oh, of course, princess. Anything else you like, princess?" This is just kind of revealing that they are poking fun of her because she's not really a lady. They are just being kind of nasty. And Romeo's joining in on this. He's not being very mature or very nice. And I don't know about you, but this does not seem like the kind of guy that's marriage material. Alright, let's see. Mercutio and Benvolio leave the scene, and now we're going to have Nurse and Romeo talk. Let's listen in.
Mercutio and Benvolio.
Marry, farewell. I pray you, sir, what saucy merchant was this that was so full of his ropery?
A gentleman, Nurse, that loves to hear himself talk, and will speak more in a minute than he will stand to in a month.
And to speak anything against me, I'll take him down, and a will lustier than he is, and 20 such jacks, and if I cannot, I'll find those that shall. Scurvy knave! I am none of his flirt gills, I am none of his skeins mates, and thou must stand by too, and suffer every knave to use me at his pleasure.
I saw no man use you at his pleasure. If I had, my weapon should quickly have been out, I warrant you. I dare draw as soon as another man, if I see occasion in a good quarrel, and the law's on my side.
Now afore God I am so vexed that every part about me quivers. Scurvy knave! Pray you, sir, a word, and as I told you, my young lady bid me inquire you out. What she bade me say I will keep to myself. But first let me tell ye, if ye should lead her into a fool's paradise, as they say, it were a very gross kind of behaviour, as they say, for the gentlewoman is young, and therefore, if you should deal double with her, truly it were an ill thing to be offered to any gentlewoman, and very weak dealing.
Nurse, commend me to thy lady and mistress. I protest unto thee.
Good heart and in faith I will tell her as much. Lord, Lord, she will be a joyful woman.
What wilt thou tell her, Nurse? Thou dost not mark me.
I will tell her, sir, that you do protest, which, as I take it, is a gentlemanlike offer.
Bid her devise some means to come to shrift this afternoon, and there she shall at Friar Lawrence's cell be shrived and married. Here is for thy pains.
No, truly, sir, not a penny.
Go to, I say you shall.
This afternoon, sir. Well, she shall be there.
And stay, good nurse, behind the abbey wall. Within this hour my man shall be with thee, and bring thee cords made like a tackled stair, which to the high top gallant of my joy must be my convoy in the secret night. Farewell. Be trusty, and I'll quit thy pains. Farewell. Commend me to thy mistress.
Now God in heaven bless thee. Hark you, sir.
What sayst thou, my dear nurse?
Is your man secret? Did you ne'er hear say, two may keep counsel, putting one away?
I warrant thee, my man's as true as steel.
Well, sir, my mistress is the sweetest lady. Lord, Lord, when 'twas a little prating thing, oh, there's a nobleman in town, one Paris, that would fain lay knife aboard, but she, good soul, had as lief see a toad, a very toad as see him. I anger her sometimes, and tell her that Paris is the proper man. But I'll warrant you, when I say so, she looks as pale as any clout in the versal world. Doth not Rosemary and Romeo both begin with a letter?
Ay, nurse, what of that? Both with an R.
Ah, mocker! What's the dog's name? R is for the dog. No, I know it begins with some other letter. And she hath the prettiest sententious of it, of you and Rosemary. that it would do you good to hear it.
Commend me to thy lady.
Aye, 1,000 times.
Exit Romeo.
Peter,
Anon?
Peter, take my fan and go before.
Exit. See.
Let's pause right there and go back and talk. So we have Nurse and Romeo talking. And Nurse, at first, she's really, kind of flustered from her interaction with Romeo and Mercutio earlier. Mercutio's poking fun at her, and so is Romeo. She says, oh, you guys are such scurvy knaves. Oh, you bothered me and you vexed me. But Romeo kind of convinces her to come around, and he gives her the plan for Juliet to sneak out of her house and get married. He says, bid her devise some means to come to Shrift this afternoon, Shrift meaning confession, and there shall at Friar Lawrence's cell be shrived and married. Here's for thy pains. And he sneaks her some money, and if you notice, her tone really changes after that. She's like, oh, ha 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 ha, oh, doesn't your name end with R, or start with R, and aren't you lovely? And so, again, it shows that Nurse is kind of easy to impress with money or beauty, or she's just kind of this quirky character. She's actually one of my favorites, really. And so we know that Juliet's going to sneak out for confession and get married. Let's see what happens next.